Good morning. I'm trying to hold this so it doesn't shake as bad as it does if I don't have my hands on it. Woo! The trailer just took me for a little spin there. I'm on my way to go get hay, and I thought I would talk to you about a video that I posted yesterday of Dewey and the little love sessions that I have with him and his mom before Daisy, before I leave them in their paddock for the evening. Daisy loves to have all her mushy stuff done like as soon as we come through the gate. And every time I try to hook up the camera and then try to encourage her to come away from the gate so that we can do our little love session in front of the camera, yes, but also away from the gate. And she always acts like she doesn't know me after that. She's had her fill. And that's kind of the point of this. So like Dewey, he loves being mushed on and hugged and whatever. And it's very important at this age to do all that, to cross over his back and rub his other side and hug him and, squeeze him and give him senses of squeeze and give him senses of kind of claustrophobia and give him senses of human climbing on me. And doing it in a very affectionate way, but not doing it in at all a sneaky or caressive way, more or less doing it in a vigorous, like you would rub all over a Labrador retriever, And I realized Daisy is actually an example, is you want to do that to the point to where they're enjoying it and then leave. So that way when you leave them questioning why you're not staying and, why wouldn't you do this for me a little bit more? And you leave them with that eagerness for your return. You leave them wanting more interaction. Don't stay so long that they start to pull away. Don't stay so long that they start to back away. Don't stay so long that they start doing different things with their head, kind of in an avoidance of you. Because then you've made it a negative thing in their opinion. You've made it something that they don't want. They don't look forward to you returning and doing some more of. They're not watching you leave thinking, that's it. So my goal is always to leave my horse questioning, that's it? Like, you're done? I was kind of enjoying that. So that way the next time they see you, they're like, oh, there she is. She's going to come and love on me some more. So that's really the point, is when you're, especially like feral horses. I've dealt with some feral horses. I've dealt with some horses that have some bad history, that are not really that welcoming of human connection, have been very defensive. I'm actually getting ready to start with a horse that as soon as he sees you come near him, as soon as he feels your intention to approach him, he pins his ears and snakes his head at you. And apparently the other day he bit somebody. I'm going to start working with him to try to help him come out of his shell, and I sure hope she lets me videotape all that, because it would be huge to show the transformation of how to encourage a horse to not only accept human affection, but also crave it. I'm definitely looking forward to that one. But with Dewey, it's, everything's new to him. He's only 4 months old, so everything's new to him. So everything is all exposure. And it's really important right now for me to do a lot of just kind of climbing all over him, hugging him, squeezing him, making him feel claustrophobic in ways, making him feel like things that are a little uncomfortable, but then making sure that I leave him on a note of wanting more of it. So finding a way to make something uncomfortable comfortable, and then desirable, and then not to outwear your welcome, because that is the trick. If you outwear your welcome, if you create a situation where they would prefer that you didn't do that anymore. I always tell people when they praise a horse, it's not much of a praise. Like, if your horse does not like his ears scratched, or his forelock tussled, or his neck rubbed on, but he really likes his withers rubbed, or he likes his belly rubbed, or something like that, it's not at all a reward. If you're trying to praise your horse, it is not at all a reward to rub them the way you want to. You have to rub them or scratch them the way they want to be rubbed or scratched for it to be a reward. And you would be surprised how many people will rub or scratch or pat, I say slap, a horse in a way that is only about what either they believe is just how you do it, or they believe that the horse likes it because you wanted to do it. But if you watch, sometimes when you scratch a horse, if you plan on scratching a horse, pick a spot, scratch it. But you plan on only just continuing that motion, okay? And then let the horse tell you where he wants to be scratched. And he will. He'll either back up a little bit, he'll bend in a little bit, he'll walk forward a little bit. But what happens sometimes is people don't realize that they're still insisting that that spot that they chose is the spot the horse wants to be scratched. And they keep moving with the horse to scratch that same exact spot instead of letting the horse tell them, no, I'm cool with what you're doing. I just would rather you do it a little bit further back. You know, like when somebody's scratching your own back, you're like, oh, down a little, down a little. It's the same concept, but your horse can't say down a little. He can just kind of help himself get in a better position for you. Make sure that everything, and like when I use scratching and stuff as a teaching incentive, because I don't do treats, but horses, my hand is always with me. Treats are not always with me. I can always offer a very generous scratch. I cannot always offer a generous cookie. So when my horses do something that I really want them to do, I scratch them. But the trick is you never satisfy the itch. So like if somebody's scratching your back and you're like, all right, that's good. Thank you, right? Once you've satisfied it to the thank you, your horse is no longer going to work for you to scratch that again. But if you scratch them where they're going, oh yeah, right there, and then you leave before they say thank you, well, now you're onto something. Because now your horse is going to go, you've almost like exaggerated the itch to where now they're going to be like, oh wait, remember where you were scratching me? Can you do that again? When you keep them asking for more, I call that their price. They tell you their price. They're willing to work for that price. I'll do for you if you do for me. And the trick is just don't ever, on all of the circumstances, don't ever outwear your welcome, and you will become a horse's best friend. And sometimes the welcome becomes further and further down the road, meaning like if I rub on my horse and he's a feral horse and just touching him and leaving him going, well, that wasn't so bad, you could come back and do that again, could turn into rubbing him from the cheek to the shoulder and saying that's all I was going to do, and then have the horse be like, all right, yeah, that wasn't so bad, you could come back and do that. Next thing you know, you've increased how long the horse is welcoming you to stay, but you didn't outwear your welcome. You didn't stay longer than the horse could handle. So it can always increase. They can always want you to stay longer. You know, it's kind of like dating, I guess. You know, you go on a date, but you don't move in together that day, and gradually you find that you want to be around each other more and more to where living together makes sense, kind of thing. So it's kind of the same concept, just sometimes people really think that, you know, I own you, so I should be allowed to be all over you and you need to love it. But yet, just like people, they don't always love it, and you might have to help them learn to love it, or you might have to compromise and not have that be how you show your horse love and affection. I have a perfect example of horse, thoroughbred. They're common for this, you know, thin skin. They don't really like being rubbed on. They definitely don't really like being scratched on, and it's pretty across the board. It's not stereotypical per se. It's pretty, people that own thoroughbreds really would concur. So don't make it because you want to scratch the horse. Don't make it because you think it's important to the horse to be scratched. If the horse is saying, yeah, I'm not really into that, I'm not really an affectionate person, I'm not a close talker, I'd prefer that you sit over there and I sit over here, just being and providing the comfort of not imposing yourself could be exactly what the horse craves. Like, they want the human that is going to respect their space. They want the human that is going to come and just be with them and not have to touch them. You'd be surprised how valuable even that is. Think about that. Like, if you had a friend that's constantly like putting their hands on you, hugging you all the time or whatever, and then you have this other friend who's just as fun to be around, but they have a little more respect for your personal space and it doesn't make you nuts. If you had to choose which one you would call to do something with, it'd probably be the one that's not going to make you as uncomfortable. So, I don't know. It's kind of like food for thought on how to really get into a connected, physical connected way with a horse. I have another horse that the owner bought because she was envious of, and this is like her statement, envious of my relationship I have with Ritz and how affectionate my relationship is with Ritz. And she wanted basically her own Ritz. So we bought Bentley. And I agreed that I was going to raise Bentley to be that horse that loves being hugged and loved on and just thrives in that kind of. Now, could he have not ended up being that horse? Of course. But I just recently posted a video of him and me loving in the moment too, when he was eating his grain and he came over and I stood in the door and we did little hugs, and I taught him to really love having his head hugged. Because that's what the owner craved, because she had a thoroughbred who was like, yeah, I'd rather you just leave me alone. So that's that. I hope that helps us not try to impose ourselves so much on horses and read the horses and do what is necessary for the relationship they want with us, not always the relationship we want with them.